Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much, Roxanne. Thank you so much for those kind words of introduction. I must tell you that I'm delighted, very happy, and very pleased to be here this morning and to welcome each and every one of you to this district, to the city of Atlanta, those of you not from Atlanta, to the state of Georgia, those of you not from the state of Georgia, but welcome. Roxanne told you that I didn't grow up here in Atlanta. I grew up in rural Alabama, about 50 miles from Montgomery, outside of a little place called Troy. It is true that my father was a sharecropper, a tenant farmer. But back in 1944, when I was 4 years old, and I do remember when I was 4. How many of you remember when you was 4? What happened to the rest of us? Well, in 1944, when I was only 4 years old, my father had saved $300, and with the $300, he bought 110 acres of land. My family still own that land today. On this farm, we raised a lot of cotton, corn, peanuts, hogs, cows, and chickens. If you come to my Washington Congressional office, just drop in. The first thing the staff will offer you will be a Coca-Cola because Atlanta happened to be the home of the Coca-Cola Company. And Coca-Cola provide all members of the Georgia Congressional Delegation with an adequate supply of Coca-Cola products. Every now and then I may have a Diet Coke. The next thing the staff will offer you will be some peanuts, because here in the state of Georgia, we raise a lot of peanuts. And the Georgia Peanut Commission provides us all with some peanuts to offer to our visitors, to our guests. Now, I don't eat too many of those peanuts, and I don't want you to tell any of the Peanut Commission people that I don't eat too many of those peanuts. I ate so many peanuts when I was growing up in rural Alabama, I just don't want to see any more peanuts. Sometime I get on a flight and fly from Atlanta to Washington, or Washington back to Atlanta like I did last evening. And the flight attendant tried to offer me some peanuts. I said, no, thank you. I don't care for any peanuts. Thank you very much. But also on this farm, we raise a lot of chickens, as you heard me say. Do any of you know anything about raising chickens? Any of you? Yeah? I'm not seeing too good because of the lights. Some of you know something about raising chickens? Okay. Well, maybe we can have a little fun. I know the steel workers know how to organize and mobilize, and other labor unions, and I know as environmentalists, you know how to fight and stand up and do what is right, what is fair, what is just, but you don't know anything about raising chickens. Let me tell you what I had to do as a young boy growing up in rural Alabama during the 40s and the 50s. To take the fresh eggs, mark them with a pencil, place them under the setting hen, and wait for 3 long weeks for the little chicks to hatch. Some of you may be saying, now, John Lewis, why do you mark those fresh eggs with a pencil before you place them under the setting hen? Well, from time to time, another hen will get on the same nest, and there will be some more eggs. And you had to be able to tell the fresh eggs from the eggs that were already under the setting hen. Do you follow me? Oh, you don't follow me, it's okay. But these little chicks will hatch. I would fool these setting hens. I would cheat on these setting hens. I would take these little chicks and give them to another hen, or put them in a box with a lantern and raise them on their own. Get some more fresh eggs, mark them with a pencil, place them under their setting hen, encourage the setting hen that's still in the nest for another 3 weeks. When I look back on it, it was not the right thing to do. It was not the moral thing to do. It was not the most loving thing to do. It was not the most democratic thing to do. It was not the most nonviolent thing to do. But I was never quite able to save $18.98 to order the most inexpensive incubator, a hatchet from the Susan Roebuck store. We used to order everything from the Susan Roebuck store. Any of you old enough to remember the Susan Roebuck catalog? That big book, that heavy book, that thick book? Some people call it the ordering book. Other people call it the wish book. I wish I had this. I wish I had that. pastors. I wanted to be a minister when I was very young, about 8, 9 years old. And from time to time, with the help of my brothers and sisters and my first cousins, we would gather all of our chickens together in the chicken yard. And my brothers and sisters and cousins would line the outside of the chicken yard. They would help make up the audience, the congregation. And I would start speaking or preaching. And when I look back on it, some of these chickens would bow their heads. Some of these chickens would shake their heads. They never quite said amen. But I'm convinced that some of those chickens that I preached to in the 40s and the 50s tended to listen to me much better than some of my colleagues listen to me today in the Congress. As a matter of fact, some of those chickens were just a little more productive. At least they produce eggs. Well, that's enough for that story. That's enough. It is an honor for me to be here, to see each and every one of you, to come here to thank you for all of your good and great work. Since I've been in elected office, the environmental movement and organized labor have supported me. I looked at a survey, a scorecard just this past week, and one of the organizations gave me a score of 100% when it comes to standing up for the environment. 100%. The only member of the Georgia delegation. A few short years ago, I introduced the Environmental Justice Act. We didn't get it through the Congress. Al Gore introduced it in the Senate, and I did it in the House. And when President Clinton became president and Al Gore vice president, President Clinton issued an executive order carrying out some of the action that we had introduced in that bill. This little piece of real estate that we call Earth, this little planet is not ours to waste or to hoard. It's not ours to destroy. We must save it and preserve it for generation yet unborn. That is our calling, that is our mission, and that is our mandate. We can have good jobs and green jobs by building and working together for the common good. When we marched on Washington almost 50 years ago, August 28, 1963, with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and others, was a march for jobs and freedom. You must stand up. You must organize. You must speak up and speak out. It is clearly by your presence here that vision, creativity, and a little risk-taking are required for successful green enterprise. During the last administration, there was very little interest in the environment. There was very little encouragement for investment in green jobs. Even simple efforts to keep our environment clean and to address our changing climate was stuck. And today there is, in this administration, President Barack Obama, and on the part of our leadership, on my side of the aisle, support for good green jobs. But you must continue to organize. You must continue to speak up, continue to hold conference, and debate the great issues. And you must find a way to get in the way and make some noise. And when you hold a conference like this, you're making noise. When I was a young child and would visit Troy, visit Montgomery, visit Tuskegee, visit Birmingham, and when I saw those signs that said white men, white women, colored women, white waiting, colored waiting, and come home and ask my mother, my father, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, why? They would say, that's the way it is. Don't get in the way, don't get in trouble. But one day I heard about Rosa Parks. I heard the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on the radio, and I was inspired to get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble. It's time for organized labor and environmental movement to get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble. I think here in our country, we're too quiet. We're too quiet. We're too quiet. There's too much silence. We have to speak up, speak out, and never, ever give up or give in or give out. As a matter of fact, in 1987, I introduced a piece of legislation to create a national African American Museum of History and Culture on the mall. It took me several years to get it through the House. Because we had a senator, we passed it in the House, one Congress, another Congress, then in the next Congress didn't pass, but we weren't able to get it through the Senate because one senator from North Carolina by the name of Jesse Him opposed it. He put a hold on it. But we didn't give up. We didn't give in. We didn't give out. We kept the faith and we kept our eyes on the prize. And President Bush, too, signed it into law. And yesterday morning we had on the mall, in the shadow of the Washington Monument, the groundbreaking for the building of this museum, and it will open in 2015. I tell this story only to say to you that you have to hang in there. Take a page from the early days of the Civil Rights Movement. We were beaten. We were arrested. We went to jail. I was arrested and jailed 40 times during the 60s. Left bloody at the Greyhound bus station in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Left bloody at the Greyhound bus station in Montgomery in 1961. Had a concussion on that bridge in Selma on March 7, 1965. But I didn't give up. And you must not give up. You must organize and mobilize, have discussion and debates, and continue to create a powerful coalition. And we can, and you will, create good green jobs. I want to thank you, the environmental groups, organized labor, the steel workers and others, but especially the steel workers have been with me from day one. And I want to thank you for all of your help and for all of your support. We have work to do. We have an election coming up. I know this is not supposed to be partisan, and I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but you got to go out there. Because there's a group of people that want to take us back to another period. There are people who are saying that we're more concerned about the earth, about the planet, about what is right, what is just, or what is fair, than about jobs. You can have justice, you can have fairness, you can have what is right, you can have what is clean and good, and all at the same time, you can have good jobs. We have a right to know what is in the food we eat. We have a right to know what is in the water we drink. We have a right to know what is in the air we breathe. We have to push and pull and not be afraid. Let's do it. Today, green technologies and policies that support investment are too political. Our economy, our unemployed, and our planet are crying out for green jobs. Yet our politics keep us from creating those jobs. But as Dr. King would say, the time is always right to do what is right. The time is right to protect our children, our seniors, from pollution. The time is right to protect our ocean from oil. The time is right to create green jobs. There's a myth. You hear it in some of these debates, some of the discussion, you're going to hear more of it. But there's a myth out there that protecting our air and water will hurt our economy. There's a myth that any federal support for research or manufacturing is a waste. You must tell the policymakers, the people who make decisions at the state level, at the federal level, that we must do what is right, that our planet and our economy demand that we look to clean, green jobs. The country that leads in green technology will have the strongest economy in decades and years to come. We can do it, and we must do it. We must see that none of our citizens are left out or left behind. In the final analysis, we are one people, we are one family, we are one house, we all live in the same house. Not just the American house, but the world house. Because there's dirty air in Chattanooga, it doesn't mean that the air in Atlanta is going to be clean. Because that dirty air in Birmingham doesn't mean that the air in Montgomery or Tuscaloosa. Because there's dirty air and pollution in Jackson, Mississippi doesn't mean that the air in Hattiesburg or Memphis is going to be clean. We all live in the same house. It's not just the house of Georgia or Alabama or Mississippi, but it's the house of California, Michigan, and New York, and Washington, D.C. When I was growing up many, many years ago on that farm in rural Alabama, I had an aunt by the name of Seneva. And my Aunt Seneva lived in what we call a shotgun house. She didn't have a green manicured lawn, had a simple plain dirt yard. I know what I'm talking about because I was born in a shotgun house. Do any of you know what a shotgun house is? No, you don't. Don't try to fool me. My Aunt Seneva lived in this old house, and sometime at night you can look up through the holes in the ceiling, through the holes in the tin roof and count the stars. When it would rain, she would get a pail, a bucket, or a tub and catch the rainwater. From time to time, she would walk out into the woods and cut branches from a dogwood tree, and she would make a broom, and she called that broom the breast broom. For those of you who may not know what a shotgun house is, in the nonviolent sense, it's an old house, one way in, one way out, where you can bounce a basketball through the front door and it will go straight out the back door. My Aunt Seneva lived in a shotgun house. She would take this old brush broom and she would sweep this dirt yard very clean, sometimes 2 and 3 times a week, but especially on a Friday or Saturday because she wanted the dirt yard to look good during the weekend. One Saturday afternoon, a group of my brothers and sisters and a few of my first cousins were out playing in my Aunt Seneva dirt yard. And an unbelievable storm came up. The wind started blowing, the thunder started rolling, the lightning started flashing, and the rain started beating on the tin roof of this old shotgun house. My aunt became terrified, started crying. She thought this old house was going to blow away. She got all of us, the children, together and told us to hold hands. And we did as we were told. The wind continued to blow. The thunder continued to roll. The lightning continued to flash. And the rain continued to beat on the tin roof of this old shotgun house. And when one corner of this old house appeared to be lifting from its foundation, my aunt had us to walk to that side to try to hold the house down with our little bodies. When the other corner appeared to be lifting, she had us to walk to that side. We were little children walking with the wind, but we never, ever left the house. We all live in the same house. It doesn't matter whether we're labor or environmental group, political group, business groups. We're one. It doesn't matter whether we're black or white, or Latino, Asian American, or Native American. We're one. One people, one family, one house. It's in the best interest of our country, in the best interest of our society, best interest of the planet, that we save this little piece of real estate, not just for ourselves, but for generations yet unborn. I said to you, as you meet here, you must send the strongest, loudest message possible that you're going to do everything possible to set us on a new course, a better course, to create good, green jobs for all. Just maybe our foremothers and our forefathers all came to this great land in different ships. We're all in the same boat now. We must look out for each other, care for each other, and build a world that is cleaner, a little greener, and a little more peaceful. Thank you very much and have a great day.